Picture this, a place so thoroughly steeped in mystery, so genuinely feared by the locals, that even the government is literally afraid of the dark there. We're looking at the ruins of Bhangarh Fort, way deep in the heart of Rajasthan, India. Just look at those long shadows stretching over the broken temples and abandoned streets. No one, and I mean absolutely no one, is allowed in here after sunset. It's widely considered India's most haunted location. So today, in this explainer, we're going to uncover the secrets of Bhangarh Fort. We're going to explore the whispers that echo through the ruins, the footsteps that supposedly follow you when you're completely alone, and the shadows that just move without bodies. Are we looking at something truly paranormal here? Or is this just fear playing massive tricks on the human mind?
Okay, let's dive right into this, because this isn't just some urban legend whispered around a campfire. This is a very real official warning signboard put up by the Archaeological Survey of India. Entry is prohibited before sunrise and after sunset. This undeniable real-world government ban serves as our starting point today. Bhangarh is literally one of the only places in the entire country with such a strict, legally enforced rule about nighttime entry. And it really forces us to ask, why? Is the terrain just a bit too dangerous to navigate in the dark? Or is the government quietly acknowledging that there's something out there in the ruins that we really shouldn't be disturbing?
Section 1. The Forbidden Fort, a city frozen in time.
Let's move to the history and see how this all builds, because to truly understand the darkness surrounding Bhangarh, we have to look at the light that came before it. We need to go back in time to lay the foundation of this whole mystery. The story kicks off in the 17th century. The fort was built by Raja Madho Singh, a general of the Mughal Empire. And it wasn't always this creepy wasteland. It was actually a thriving, bustling city packed with markets, beautiful temples, palaces, just full of life. But then came the era of decline. Now, if you ask historians, they'll point to totally objective factors. They'll tell you the town declined because famine and war just ravaged the population, eventually forcing whoever survived to flee. And that leaves us with what we see today, a city frozen in time, completely abandoned. But actually, if you talk to the locals living around the area today, they don't talk about famine or war. No, they believe something much, much darker destroyed their city.
Section 2. Two Chilling Curses, the Lore of the Ruins.
And that brings us to the folklore. To fully peel back the layers of this mystery and figure out why people are so terrified of these ruins, we really have to look at two very distinct legends that supposedly doomed the fort. The first one is all about a holy man, a sadhu named Guru Balunath. According to the lore, this sadhu lived right near the fort and spent his days deep in meditation. Long before the city was fully built up, he gave the king a very specific, chilling warning. Guru Balunath laid out one exact, non-negotiable condition. He said, "Do not let your palace shadow fall on my meditation ground, or the city will be destroyed." For a while, this rule was respected, but as the Mughal city grew and thrived, the fort expanded. The walls got higher and higher until one afternoon, the creeping shadow of that towering palace finally touched the holy man's sacred land. Imagine the sudden, deafening crack of thunder echoing across the valley the very second that shadow crossed the line. The holy man's rule was broken, and that triggered a massive curse that, according to the legend, instantly left the entirety of Bhangarh in inescapable ruins. And this brilliantly illustrates how these legends escalate, because the second, and maybe even more famous legend, is this wild tale of black magic and unrequited love. Basically, a powerful sorcerer named Singhiya falls madly in love with the beautiful princess Ratnavati. Knowing he couldn't win her heart the normal way, he turns to the dark arts, enchanting a bottle of oil that was meant for her. But the princess figures out the trick. She violently rejects him and hurls the enchanted bottle away. Well, the magic backfires. The oil hits a massive rock, dislodging it, and the rock rolls right down and crushes the sorcerer. But right before he takes his absolute last breath, he casts a dying curse on the city. He whispers that no one would ever live there again and that happiness was banished forever. And sure enough, soon after, the city was completely abandoned.
Section 3. Echoes in the Dark, the Symptoms.
All right, so those are the ancient legends. But let's be real, a curse from the 1600s wouldn't keep the modern government out today unless something was still actively happening, right? So let's shift our focus from ancient lore to modern-day phenomena. Let's look at the actual, terrifying symptoms reported by people who venture near the ruins right now. And guys, these aren't just vague, uneasy feelings. Visitors report highly specific audio-visual cues. People hear the distinct ringing of phantom anklets echoing through completely empty stone halls. They report heavy wooden doors slamming shut when there is literally zero wind. There are tons of accounts of electronic devices and cell phones just instantly dying the second people step inside the perimeter. And maybe the most chilling part? Visitors claim to have seen unexplained shadows moving independently without any physical bodies casting them. These tangible, reported events are exactly why local security guards absolutely refuse to stay inside the fort at night.
To really ground this, let's listen to a first-hand visitor account. They said, "I felt someone was watching me the entire time, even when I was alone." I mean, just think about the immense psychological weight of that kind of isolation. You're standing out there in the middle of a ruined, abandoned city, miles from civilization, and yet every single instinct in your body is screaming that you are not alone.
And, it quickly escalates from just a creepy feeling of being watched to actual auditory hallucinations or real sounds, depending on what you believe. Another visitor claimed, "I heard a woman crying, but there was no one there." This is really the peak of our spooky narrative here. Hearing the disembodied cries of a woman echoing through the broken, shadowed ruins of a cursed city, it's downright terrifying. But as an explainer, we have to pivot here and look for the objective truth. What does actual science have to say about all this?
Section 4. The Mind's Tricks, Science versus Supernatural. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that experts and psychologists actually have very logical, grounded explanations for everything happening within the walls of Bhangarh. It all comes down to a concept called pareidolia. This is a super well-documented psychological phenomenon where your brain just creates familiar patterns, faces, or sounds out of completely random stimuli, even when absolutely nothing is there. And why does it do this? To protect you. Human brains are basically evolutionary pattern recognition machines. So when you walk into an environment that is dead silent, pitch black, and heavily associated with danger and ancient curses, your brain goes into absolute overdrive trying to find patterns in the dark just to keep you safe. The ruins themselves kind of force your mind to imagine things that simply aren't there.
Let's look at it objectively and compare the supernatural claims right alongside the environmental realities. On one hand, we have reports of phantom cries and ghostly footsteps. But up against that is the reality of the geography, strong winds howling through highly irregular, broken stone structures. The physical layout of these ruined archways and crumbling walls essentially acts like a giant broken flute. So when the wind whips through, it easily creates these eerie, high-pitched sounds that mimic a crying woman, or rhythmic thumping that sounds exactly like footsteps. You add extreme isolation to the mix, which naturally spikes your fear and anxiety, and it's incredibly easy to see how a howling breeze gets amplified by a terrified mind into a full-blown supernatural encounter.
So how do we actually settle this debate? Well, through the ultimate test. Over the years, countless YouTubers, explorers, and ghost hunters have tried to defy that government ban and stay in Bhangarh after sunset. And the results? Well, some of them have fled the fort in sheer, unadulterated terror. Others have come back but point-blank refused to ever talk about what they experienced in the dark. Yet, despite all the high-tech cameras and audio equipment dragged into those ruins, no official, irrefutable proof of the paranormal has ever been recorded. The mystery just remains perfectly balanced on a knife's edge between deep psychological phenomena and the great unknown.
So we're left to wonder, is Bhangarh Fort truly cursed by a crushed sorcerer and an angry holy man? Or is it simply a tragedy of war and famine twisted into a ghost story passed down through generations and amplified by the wind and our own biological fears? One thing is absolutely certain. After sunset, the atmosphere of this place undeniably shifts. The air gets heavier, the shadows get longer, and the silence becomes deafening. Knowing the history, the folklore, and the science, would you dare to enter?